come get your seats. We'll get started. Oh, this is a beautiful room. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Welcome to Temple Israel for our Special in Uniform program. I can't think of a more important time to bring Special in Uniform to town. Temple has made it a priority over the last few years to create inclusion programming and to spotlight Israel programming through TI for Israel. And tonight is no exception because it brings both of our values together. We are here during a profoundly significant moment. With hope, I pray on the horizon of hostages who have come home and those still waiting to come home. Watching them reunite with their families is a powerful reminder of their resilience and courage, the same resilience and courage of each and every soldier within the IDF. Special in Uniform is a unique and beautiful unit. I know that tonight you will feel inspired and will be energized as you learn about the IDF's secret weapon, a highly trained squad of elite soldiers that's entirely made up of disabled and autistic teens. They are integrated into the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, and in turn into Israeli society. Its core belief is that everyone belongs and has the right to reach his or her full potential. So I want to thank tonight the honorary chair of the Special in Uniform program, our own congregant, Dr. Max Robbins, and our host committee, Deborah and Josh Berkovitz, Ali Padnos, Benji Rosenzweig, and Katie Wallace, as well as our own Temple staff, Jason Plotkin and Maya Greenbaum, who are passionate about this program. And one more thank you to JNF for co-sponsoring this program. And so it is with gratitude that I invite Rabbi Dan Horowitz, the Executive Director of the Midwest States of Jewish National Fund, to come forward now.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Hornston. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everybody. A special thank you to Temple Israel for hosting tonight's event. And while I'm a relatively new employee at JNF USA, I'm not so new to Detroit. I'm a native, and I'm not so new to Temple Israel, where my kiddos attended the ECC and where I had the pleasure of being part of the professional team for several years, founding and running The Well, the Temple's Young Adult Engagement Initiative. So the events of October 7th, I'm sure like for many of you, profoundly changed me. And when trying to figure out how best to channel my intense desire to stand up for and support Israel in her time of need, I turned to the folks who well before October 7th had established themselves as the visionary supporters of Israel's North and South, Jewish National Fund USA. I began my tenure in early January, and I've been inspired by the organization's impact, building and rebuilding each day since. Now, when you hear the words Jewish National Fund, the first image that likely comes to mind is planting a tree in Israel, or perhaps the blue pushka, tzedakah box. So allow me to briefly widen your perspective and deepen your understanding of the impact that JNF has in Israel and here in the USA. JNF exists for one reason and one reason only: to ensure a prosperous and everlasting future for the land and people of Israel. That's it. That's our vision. But what you may not be fully aware of is how we do that. Simply put, we build out the frontier, what you might call flyover country as Midwesterners, the North and the South in Israel, the plush Galilee, the arid desert, areas that aren't yet well populated, because you may not know this, 80% of Israelis live in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa. Just those three cities. So what has to happen to attract people to live in comparatively underdeveloped areas? What would it take to entice you to move there? So JNF supports programs and projects so that the people have quality, well-paid jobs, affordable housing, fresh water, food security, excellent schools, local medical centers, arts and culture, inclusion for those with different abilities, and yes, what we all know since October 7th is essential: security, bomb shelters, therapy services, and fire and rescue teams. That's what JNF was doing before October 7th, and that's what they've been doing since. Now, on October 8th, JNF raced into action to help evacuate those hit hard by the brutal attacks. We supplied vital housing, medical aid, occupational, physical, and mental therapy, respite activities, washing machines, diapers, you name it. We launched the Israeli Emergency Campaign to fund rebuilding the communities in the south, repairing and fortifying homes, schools, parks, and facilities for families to come back to. We have a Reimagine plan to bring the 80,000 evacuees who fled courtesy of Hezbollah rockets back home to the north. And since October 7th, we've had over 5,000 participants, including at least a handful who I know are here tonight, participate in travel on JNF volunteer missions, painting, harvesting, building playgrounds, and packing food and supplies for the soldiers fighting for Israel's life and security. And a highlight of every mission is dancing with the soldiers to the music of the Special and Uniform Band, which we'll hear about in a little bit. Here in the USA, JNF is also the leading provider of Zionist education for our young people, from kindergartens to the Alexander Muss High School Semester Abroad program in Israel to a number of programs that we fund on campuses. We are unapologetically teaching the next generation the beauty and blessing of supporting Israel, ensuring strong Zionist leadership for our community in the future. So personally, I'm thrilled to be part of the JNF family. But rather than have me go on, we're going to take a brief moment to enjoy a short video because we have kids here who like looking at screens. No, I'm kidding. I too like looking at screens, and we're going to take a brief moment to enjoy a video to digest just how awesome JNF's work is.
These beautiful regions were and always will be our beloved home.
This is where we chose to raise our children and build a promising future for our families and for generations to come.
Our hearts are tied to this land.
This is where our future goes.
It was never an easy journey. For the last 20 years, we've been the shield and armor of Israel, absorbing the blows, protecting our families and communities, but always hoping for a peaceful future.
For so many years, we've needed someone who makes us feel strong and that we are not alone.
Someone we can count on.
Someone who shares our passion for this land.
Someone who understands that this place is the backbone and the future of Israel.
Jewish National Fund USA has always been that someone.
For decades, you launched countless projects to transform our communities into the best places to live in Israel.
With the greatest educational programs in the country.
State-of-the-art medical facilities.
New housing initiatives that bring more families to our community.
Together, we turn this region into a wonderful place to live in.
With endless possibilities and a bright future.
Until that day.
In the aftermath of the massacre and tragedy of October 7th and the endless challenges faced by the people of Israel, Jewish National Fund USA's answer is loud and clear. We say with one voice, we believe in tomorrow.
I believe in the strength of this community.
I believe in our people's resilience and spirit.
I believe that Israel is still and always will be the greatest place for us to live in.
I believe in the eternal bond of Jewish people from all over the world.
I believe we'll all continue our journey of growth in this beautiful country of ours.
For more than 120 years, Jewish National Fund USA has a strong vision, strategic planning, and a history of results and trust. We repurchased the land, developed its soil, the soul of our Jewish people. Today, we continue to think of tomorrow through bold initiatives. Step by step, together with 600,000 caring contributors, we're transforming the North and South into the most magnificent areas in all of Israel. Now, more than ever, we need your philanthropic investment to continue our vital work. stand with us and support our beloved people of Israel as we rebuild and make Israel stronger than ever before.
We believe in tomorrow.
Since October 7th, JNF has been running volunteer trips to Israel so that folks can help lift up our Israeli family during their time of need. As I mentioned before, a number of folks from our local community have participated on these trips, including Temple Israel members Nancy and David Gadharf, who just returned from their trip a couple of weeks ago and who it's my pleasure to now invite up.
I could say that Danny said it all and the movie said it all, and I have nothing left to say, but that would be boring, and I prepared, so I won't say that. We had an amazing experience on this volunteer mission. It was profound, and it was life-affirming. It was not sad, except in parts. We were just totally encouraged by the Israelis. But we want to thank JNF because they sponsored, this was the first 55-year and over, and for some of us, very over, mission to help volunteer and help rebuild or repair parts of Israel in the north and in the south. After 15 months of feeling impotent, we couldn't do anything, we were stuck here, we couldn't help, we were able to embrace our Israeli family and stand with them and say, Hineni. Each one of us could say, I am here, I love you, you are not alone, now put me to work. They took us seriously, and JNF put us to work, doing things that we might never otherwise have done, like weeding and painting and staining wrought iron. We harvested. I learned all about how to grow a lemon in a lemon tree. There are lemons in lemon trees. I only knew of the song before. But we were on the buses as early as sometimes 6:30 in the morning, back to the hotel sometimes as late as 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And we traveled from the Lebanese border, doing the work that JNF had given us to do, and we traveled to the border of Gaza, the other end of the country, doing the same thing. And while the Israelis were thanking us profusely for showing up, we found that we were grateful to them for their inspiration and for giving us a chance to help them. We were the ones who were able to heal just a little bit in that process. The other reason it was profound and life-affirming is that the Israelis showed us how to live as Jews in even the darkest times. We know how to celebrate, but how do we still be Jewish when the world has turned its back on us? At the Nova site, at Hostage Square, and at another site where trucks and cars that had been shot up and burned out were on display for everybody to see, we had just the slightest inkling of the mourning that affects every Israeli. It was staggering. But despite feeling abandoned by the world, despite having to deal with unspeakable trauma and grief and loss, the Israelis showed us how to live with joy. They showed us that we need to choose life. We can't ever give up. They showed us that we need to fight for and honor the human dignity in every person. And they told us how proud they were to be Zionists and Jews, and made us feel comfortable coming home as proud Zionists and Jews. They never give up, and they never, ever stop dancing. The testimony to that is the Special in Uniform program. At the end of the saddest day of our mission, we were on an Army base in the South, having dinner with the soldiers. I think we might have prepared their meals. I didn't taste it, but I think we might have been the cooks. But we met Tiran, whom you will meet later in just a moment, and we met special needs soldiers who form a singing group. I'm sure the title is more sophisticated than that, but their job as soldiers in the IDF is to sing. They each introduced himself to us and spoke with such pride, naming their rank in the IDF. This gift to them was a gift to us to see the example that Israel has set for the world using these special needs soldiers as they do. Well, their choreography and timing would have put Motown to shame, and they had us all up dancing and dancing and dancing. You can imagine 55-year-olds and older. We're now in maybe our 10th hour of the day. We've been on our hands and knees, if you can imagine, weeding and plucking lemons, and they get us up dancing and singing. And we're joyful, and we're hugging these beautiful, beautiful young Israeli soldiers, the very people on whose shoulders rests the security of Israel. We're dancing and hugging, and we were dancing as if there was no tomorrow. And maybe that's the lesson that we all learned, that we have to choose life, we have to protect those who need our help, and we have to be proud of being Jews and Zionists. And that was the lesson of the mission for us. Where's David? David.
I'm honored to introduce our speaker this evening, Israeli Defense Forces Lieutenant Colonel Tiran Attia, who serves as the director of the program that we've been speaking about, Special in Uniform, which is affiliated, as you now know, with Jewish National Fund USA. Over the course of his distinguished 30-year career in the IDF, Lieutenant Colonel Attia has been a tank commander. He has led the training program for IDF in technology and logistics, and he's coordinated a program that some of you may be familiar with called Sarel, which is a program for Army volunteers from around the world, including from Detroit and the United States. After October 7th, Tiran was recruited into the reserves, where he served for 241 days. So please, please join me in welcoming to Detroit Lieutenant Colonel Tiran Attia.
Shalom lekulam. I see that half of you are Israelis, so we don't need English, probably. Shalom lekulam. My name is Tiran Attia. I was privileged to serve my country 30 years, 28 for exact, much more during my reserve time. But today we are going to talk about Special in Uniform. Before I start, we have 76 hostages buried somewhere in Gaza. And probably you heard the news of today that the Hamas are backing off from the deal, and they are not going to release the hostages on Saturday. And we hope that we won't get back to the part of the war that we were in for the more than 450 or 460, or let's hope that they will come to their senses and be
realistic about the situation. As we know, a terror organization, he is very realistic in his point of view. And his point of view is to eliminate us. And having said that, let's pray for the best for the state of Israel, for the Jews all over the world. So Special in Uniform. Special in Uniform is a unique program that enables young adults with special needs to become part of the IDF. And why it is so important. At the age of 16, you are getting a letter from the government with the logo of the government, the Ministry of Defense, that says, prepare yourself. 2 years from now, you are going to be part of the Israeli Defense Forces. And from that moment on, your life is a bit changing because most of the Israelis want to be at the elite units or any kind of special units, the Navy SEAL, the pilots, and all of that. This is out of one thing, a motivation to serve and protect my country, serve and protect the people of the state of Israel. And young adults with special needs getting the same letter, with the same logo that expand them from being part of those who are going to protect their country. And today I'm going to have to speak about making an impact. And I start with a story. After the Sydney hurricane in New Jersey, there was thousands or millions of starfish along the shore. And there was a guy, a kid, 12 years old, that started to take starfish and throw them to the sea, one by one. So one guy came to him and said, how come there are a million here? You won't succeed. You won't make an impact. So we picked another one, and he threw it back to the sea, and he said, to this one, I made all the difference. And this is what Special in Uniform doing. So at the age of 16, we are starting to analyze each one's ability. We believe that everyone has an ability. We just have to find it. Maybe it's hidden, but it's there. Maybe it's not so sophisticated, but it's there. So each one of them is an unpolished diamond. We will cut each angle again and again and again and again. It will sparkle at the end. We developed some programs, especially for them. One of them is called Talented on the Spectrum. Brilliant boys and girls, brilliant, I'm talking about savant that are knowing by heart the Bible or any kind of phone book or any kind of, we have a guy, Ittai, that knows all the aerial accidents from 1904 from the Wright brothers. And he said that this is not the first one because there was a period one to the Wright brothers. This is how thorough they are when they are dedicated to one specific thing. So this talent can be implemented as is at the Israeli cyber units, at the Israeli diagnose map units. So when we are taking those talented boys and girls, after a course of more or less 2 months, they are starting to work at those places. And I can tell you, and I can promise you, that they are saving life. When we are speaking here, they are saving life. And sometimes a lot of people would have asked me, can someone with special needs save life? And I said, sure they can. Come and see for yourself. During this war, I've got a report that part of our kids analyzed maps, aerial maps of Lebanon, and they circled places which was considered suspicious places. And when the expert analyzed it, they knew that there is. And when the special unit got inside, those were tunnels in which the Hezbollah hid the missiles. So they are saving lives. So all of them that are serving somehow are making the best of their capabilities and abilities to be part of the IDF. Think of a family that at the age 1 or 2 of their kids, and their kid is not developing according to what a typical child or a typical baby is being developed. And the development doctor come and give them the announcement that their son or daughter is different. He's not going to be like all the others. I met and interviewed hundreds of families. And most of them told me that their future vision for their kids shredded in that instant when they were announced. And we said that this dream is going to be fulfilled. This vision is not going to be shredded. We will make sure that they will be mainstreamed at any place that they can be. And in Israel, when you are talking about future, the army is part of the future. And later on, when they are graduating, they are talking about what will be when we as a parents couldn't have the ability to take care of them. So we developed another program that take those amazing boys and girls to group homes that we built specially for them. And those group homes are differentiated by the how independent each one of them. We have group homes for very low capabilities, which need 24/7 supervision. We have a mid-rate one, which needs more or less 3 or 4 days. And we have for very independent, which needs only 1 day just to make sure that everything is inside accordingly. So we think that those group homes are some kind of a savior for so many families that want to act as a family. And again, after a lot of interviews with the parents, they lacking the familyhood of being a family, since a lot of resources, a lot of efforts are being swallowed, are being directed to the special needs child. So we are trying to deal with that. And another program that is parallelic, the siblings that are sometimes suffer from not lack of attention, but attention which is not according to, wow, תודה רבה. Okay. So what we observed along the way, that the army is the path toward being a civilian in the state of Israel. Since when you are more or less 17, the first thing that is being asked by 2 senior graduates or high school is, what are you going to do in the army? And when someone is meeting after graduation is, what did you do in the army? And if you apply for a job with a CV without army inside, probably you won't get your job. And we are trying to make sure that all of those kind of things won't be needed anymore. They will be accepted to places according to their ability. At the end, if they have an ability, let's use those abilities. Let's make sure that they will be part of it. And I want to share with you, you know what, before I share with you, I want you to see a short video about the program, and I will continue.
10 years ago, Special in Uniform, led by Tiran, started with 40 Special in Uniform. Today, over 1,100.
Special in Uniform, Year in Review 2024. As 2024 comes to a close, we look back with immense pride at the accomplishments of our soldiers and the Special in Uniform program.
לשמור אמונים למדינת ישראל, להגנת המולדת ולחירות ישראל.
This year has been filled with milestones, partnerships, and the relentless spirit of inclusion and dedication. Over 1,000 soldiers have joined the Special in Uniform program in over 53 IDF bases across Israel. Across our bases, our soldiers work tirelessly to ensure the readiness of emergency units and reserve forces. From arranging gear to supporting logistics, their dedication remains unwavering.
בשבילי זה גאווה אינסופית.
חיכיתי ליום הזה מהרגע שהגעתי איתו הביתה מהלידה.
This year, we proudly welcomed new recruits, officially joining the ranks as soldiers in a moving ceremony. A wounded IDF soldier reminded us of the power of resilience and camaraderie.
בהתחלה חשבתי שאנחנו נבוא לפה וניתן השראה, ואני רואה שזה הפוך. עכשיו שאני רואה אותם, אנחנו מקבלים השראה מהם, שיום יום הם מתמודדים עם המוגבלויות שלהם, והופכים את הבלתי אפשרי לאפשרי לגמרי. ובזכותם, קל לנו להתמודד עם הפציעה.
I've been injured in Gaza, in Palestine Square in Gaza City.
Our Gibor LeGibor, Hero to Hero program continues to inspire with several new courses launched. This innovative initiative brings together wounded soldiers from the Iron Sword War and Special in Uniform soldiers for therapeutic horse or canine sessions, fostering healing and connection.
I think it's maybe the best therapy I could get after such an injury.
Is amazing for both sides, and we will start look how to support this program from the Israeli Ministry of Defense.
להקת גדולים במדים, תנו להם מחיאות כפיים.
One of the highlights of this year was our collaboration with Omer Adam, a very famous Israeli singer. Together with our talented band, which has not stopped appearing since the beginning of the war in front of wounded soldiers, evacuees, and more, they delivered a performance that celebrated unity and diversity in front of 30,000 spectators. Our band continues to share their message of inclusion internationally, performing at Dallas, Texas, Arizona, and Ohio, and for JNF delegations at various bases. Each performance left an unforgettable impact. This year marked a historic milestone as we celebrated our 1,000th soldier joining the program.
But our financial investment is not just about 1,000 people. This is a Special in Uniform group that involves over 14 million Jews around the world because we are a people with the spirit and hope. We are a people of an investment in the capital investment of human life.
We inaugurated an inclusion center at the IAF Special Unit, Shaldag, opened new employment opportunities for our soldiers, and celebrated the opening of a vibrant soldiers club at Palmachim Air Force Base. Our Big Beret March was another unforgettable moment, symbolizing perseverance and achievement.
שמעתי שהלב שלך קורא לך, צמא לצאת, לטרוף את העולם.
Stories like that of Emmanuel and Mayan Olgin, twin sisters who inspire with their courage and strength, touched all our hearts this year.
ואנחנו רוצים לומר לכם, אין דבר העומד בפני הרצון. גם אם דרככם מאתגרת יותר, השמיים הם הגבול, האמינו בעצמכם, שאפו למעלה והגשימו.
אני מבקש לברך במיוחד את ארגון גדולים במדים. הנחישות שלכם להשתלב במערך הצבאי ולתרום לביטחון המדינה מעוררת השתאות והתפעלות. אתם לא רק תורמים למערך הצבאי, אתם תורמים לחוסן הלאומי כולו.
As we step into 2025, we carry the lessons and triumphs of this year with us. To our soldiers, partners, and supporters, thank you for being part of this journey. Together, we continue to make a difference. We are grateful for the partnership and support of the Israeli government, the IDF, the Jewish National Fund USA, the Israeli companies who joined us this year, and the Israeli society. We thank you, our dear friends and partners, for standing together with us in our work to provide young people with disabilities the opportunity to be integrated into Israeli society in meaningful ways. Our thoughts and prayers are with the hostages, and we fervently pray for their safe and swift return.
Thank you. Part of my CV that was not told, I'm also a lawyer, and I want to share with you how I became an advocate of special need people or young adults. As you know, in Israel, wars are constant always, starting in 48 and continuing till recent moments. But 2006 for me was a very crucial year in my life. Which I was the head of the supply logistic convoys that were brought to the combat fighting soldiers in Lebanon in 2006. And in my convoy, there was some bombs or ammunition that could have ended the war in an instant. It was at the 4th or the 5th day of the war. And probably the intelligence of the Hezbollah knew it also. And when we got very close to the border, a tremendous amount of rain of missiles were launched and exploded near our trucks, and one of them exploded the ammunition that was in this specific truck. I saw my two soldiers jumping from that truck, and immediately I ordered the convoy to stop to make sure that they won't die. I jumped from my leading car, and before landing, another explosion occurred. And the second thing that I remember after that explosion, it's me in a very, very white room with a lot of bright lights, and I was sure that I'm in God Induction Center. Heaven or hell, he will decide. But when I came to my senses and woke up, I found myself in a very bright light. It was Hospital Ziv in Tzfat. And immediately, I tried to see that I'm functioning. After those kind of incidents, this is the first thing that you are doing. But I was paralyzed neck down. I started to shout, and the doctors came, and they told me, Tiran, physically, beside bruises or broken ribs somewhere, there is no reason for you to be paralyzed. So they brought my two kids. I had two kids back then. And I wanted to hug them, and I couldn't. And at that moment, I lost the will to live, which means that I decided not to take the medication, not to eat, and I didn't want to be paralyzed. The day after, a mission came. like your mission that came during this war. But they were on uniform, and you can see that they are not a typical soldiers. I looked at them, they looked at me, and I was in my soul. And one of them with the Down syndrome started to approach my bed with a big, huge, beautiful smile. She said in Hebrew, אפשר ללטף לך את היד, can I pet your hand? I looked at her and I said, I didn't respond. But she grabbed my left arm and pressed it very, very hard. I did not feel that press, but I looked when she left it. I see the fingerprint of her press on my left arm. I saw that she is making a lot of effort because her eyes were opening and closed, and there was wrinkles in her face. And when she left that grip, she took a couple of steps back, and she said, "Akol yeh beseder." Everything is going to be all right. After she left, I tried to move my legs and hands. Surprise, surprise, nothing happened. I had a lot of time to think after they left. And I made a vow that if I'm going to get out of it, I'm going to dedicate my life to people with special need. I didn't know how, I have no experience whatsoever as a social worker or psychologist or whatsoever. And I take you fast forward to 2014, when my dream came true. In 2014, we had another war. Surprise, surprise, another war. And we had the first ceremony of graduation for special in uniform soldiers. We had 40. And mysterious the ways of God. There was a mission, like the mission that you came just recently. There was the Jewish National Fund mission. And they came to one of the bases in which at that day, at that hour, we had a ceremony. And they asked to get inside. And they were part of that ceremony. And at the end of that ceremony, two ladies came to me and said, "This is a beautiful program that resonates with our vision of inclusion. We want to support it. Will you be, I'm going to offer you to become an affiliate of the Jewish National Fund." And I was sure that, one more promise from someone. So they left. And 2 weeks after, I'm getting a phone call from area code 212, which is the headquarters of the Jewish National Fund from New York, Manhattan. At the other side was Yossi Kahana, a very good friend of mine as for today. And he said, "Tiran, we decided that the committee of the Jewish National Fund decided that you are going to be part of the Jewish National Fund." And I was sure that there is a candid camera somewhere because I started to jump. I started to jump out of joy. I started to jump because it is a dream come true. And probably without the support of the JNF, this program wouldn't have risen up. And as I say always, we started with 40, and now I'm a proud father of more than 1,100 participants in the program. 1,100 that no one gave them a chance back in the old days. And I'm so happy and so delighted that I have the privilege of making Israel a better place for them, for their families, for their siblings, for the Israeli society. In Israel, inclusion 10 years ago was some kind of nice to have. But in our days, all schools are trying to integrate in a way that they are first in line like all the others. No more segregated class. Again, each one according to their abilities. And my vision, our vision, is to set to 1,500 participants in the program. And probably you ask yourself now, what do you want for us? As part of being the executive director of Special in Uniform, I'm also the head of the fundraising department. And you ask yourself how much each one costs. And I say they are not costing nothing. We are investing. We are investing in each individual. We are investing $5,000 a year. We are regrouping the soldiers in one unit, and to hold one unit for a full year, it's $100,000. Usually from congregations, we are, I'm being modest, okay? We are getting out of one unit at least. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for supporting the State of Israel. Thank you for coming here today. I will have time for questions if you want.
Thank you so much for being here. This was such an inspiring presentation about an amazing program, and it makes me proud to be a supporter of JNF and to see what they're doing out in our country across the sea. So if everybody will notice on the screens here, we have a QR code that allows you to type in a question if you have a question for Tiran. But we're also happy to take questions from the crowd. I will come around with a microphone. You're welcome to raise your hand if you have a question about Special in Uniform or for Tiran.
How many bases or how many centers of operation do you have, please?
We are working in our days in 54 different bases from the Golan Heights till Eilat. From the 7th of October, we stopped working within the bases. So what we did, we rented warehouses in which combat fighting facilities and any kind of equipment. We brought them to those warehouses, side with typical soldiers and our soldiers, worked at those equipment and sent those gears back to the combat fighting soldiers. So we are starting now to work again in the 54 different bases.
How many graduates do you have? Thank you.
Other questions?
Are there provisions for older people with special needs? Is there for older? I mean, I don't know, what are the ages that are, and also do you have provisions for Dati?
Special in Uniform, and I'm going to say something which maybe the kids won't know what I'm talking about. It's like the Hotel California. You can check in whenever you want, you can never leave. Check the Eagles. Check the Eagles. Google the Eagles. So the idea when we are starting at the age of 16, we are segueing to the army, and then when they are graduating, we are finding jobs for them in the Israeli labor market, which means that we are starting at the age of 16 till the moment that they want to live or they have another place in which they are thinking that it's better for them. Our oldest graduate is 32 years old now, and he's working in Elbit, in one of the highest high-tech. He has a simple job, but he loves waking up in the morning, and we are so proud of him. So there is no age limit.
How many group homes do you have?
As for now, we have 11. We plan to open 5 more this year. And the problem with group home, to open group homes, is that you have to have a license from the government. You cannot suddenly wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to have a group home. So we are eligible as for now for 11. When we will get all the approvals, it will be during June or July, we will have 5 more. The waiting list is, we can open 20. I don't want to brag, but the program is very, very successful. And we are being now quoted by the largest and the oldest organizations that dealt with special need kids or adults to cooperate with us, since wearing the uniform, it's not only coming to the base, it's a statement. It's a statement. And when we are talking about equals, in the army, the guy from Kiryat Shmona, the Ethiopian, the Mizrahi, the Ashkenazi, all of them were in the same uniform. So having said that, I'm equal. No one knows that he's from there or there or there. The Buick or the BMW is in the garage, in the parking lot. But when he gets inside the base, he's like all the others. So also got special need kids. And you see them when they are getting the own uniform, the joy, you saw in the clip, the joy is enormous. The love is enormous. And even they are starting to talk like soldiers in a way that starting to complain about the food, to complain about the color of something. This is the way of life.
Thank you. I just want to say, for our teens, I know that many of you have rides at 7:30, and so you're welcome to leave, or you're welcome to stay for a few more questions. And thanks for being here. I have a question. Is this program open to anybody with special needs who wants to participate? Is there a selection process? How do people get to be part of Special Uniform?
Just let them live. I don't want to hear the question, the answer. When we started the program, we had the no-no policy, which means that we accepted anyone. But without the proper experience, we failed. Because to take someone with special need without knowing exactly what are the preparation needed for him specifically, because we are not adjusting the kid himself, we are adjusting all the surrounding him, which means that the soldiers, the typical soldiers that are working with him, the commanders, and also the logistics that are surrounding him also. So when we started, when we got everyone, it was the no-no policy. We failed. We failed so many times. And those kids cannot be disappointed. We cannot disappoint them because we have only one chance. If you disappoint them twice, it's a way that you will lose them. So we started to work along the way to learn the essence of what is the meaning of serving. So today, after 10 years on road, I can say that the no-no policy is back and back on road and back big time. So we opened the program to hearing impaired, blinds, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and all of those syndromes, Williams syndrome, mentally delayed, and you name it. And in our days, autism, I don't know how to describe it without saying probably it's a plague, or it was there all the time, or the cell phones brought those kind of numbers. There is a social issues with those young adults. No one can blame, but something in the water probably. I don't know. So today the question is that we are accepting anyone.
So curiously, is there medical and dental care provided by the military?
Closer.
Is the medical and dental care provided by the military, or do the civilian schools and hospitals and professionals get involved in that as well?
When you are becoming a soldier, it means that all the benefits of the soldiers you are getting. So if you need a dental care, if you need any kind of care, you go to the doctor of the army doctor or the doctor that the army sent you. And from that moment on, you are typical soldiers like all the others.
Okay, I've got one more question, and then we're going to take one last one. Have any other countries expressed an interest in conducting a similar sort of program in their military?
The Netherlands, I was there with my team for full 3 weeks in our expense because we thought that it's very important. But then what happened at the 28th of February 2021, COVID started. And all those 3 weeks poofed in the air. And after COVID, we tried to relive it. We couldn't because the guy that loved the idea resigned from the Netherlands, from the Navy of the Netherlands. But I met a guy here with so many stars, and he's part of the human resource in the army. And I explained about the program, and he said, he did like this in his head, nod again and again and again, like it is an amazing program. After 45 minutes of me putting my throat out, he said, the US Army is not in the charity business, period. And I asked him, why did you give me 45 minutes of struggling? My English is not so good. Why? Why? Just tell me why. And he said, look, the essence of the US Army is totally different. We are not fighting for our home. Here in Israel, everyone knows the soldiers. Everybody, if you will walk, either you have in your family someone, your neighbor, your family, someone is in the army. Here, you are volunteering. Probably, if you are a soldier in the army, you came from a certain amount of salary for your parents. You want to flee from a situation to another. And if you are an officer, you are part of something. So the army is totally different. But I see a beam of light, and I'm going to fulfill it in May. I'm going to meet the second command in the naval base in San Diego. In San Diego, and someone told me that his daughter had, she is on the spectrum. And maybe through there. I'm not the guy that you can say no to. If you close the door, I will come from the window. And if the window is closed, there is a crack between, and if they close it, there is the keyhole. I think that this program has no downside whatsoever. It could be implemented anywhere. It could be amazing anywhere. And it's not an individual that we are talking about. We are talking about a society, which I think that each society is some kind of a chain, that each unit, we have to strengthen it up in order to make sure that this chain will stay always together.
It's a really beautiful ending, and we're proud to be strong links in that chain all the way over here. So thank you for being here. Thank you to JNF and to everybody who supported and brought this program to us. It was really impactful and meaningful. Thank you very much.
If you want to hear some more, I'm here.